I wanted to come on here and talk to you about the word that has been on my mind all of 2025, and that is collective. Collective, collective, collective. The ways we heal, the ways we create, the ways we get together, the ways we work, the ways we find out where we belong and who we belong with. Collective. Different from collaboration or collaborative. Collective, right? I know people use those terms interchangeably sometimes, but I'm not just talking about working on an individual project. I'm talking about working on a life aim, a purpose-driven desire, a new system for society. Collective, 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 collective. I think that's why we're all talking, honestly. I think that's why we're talking. I think that's why the follow buttons and the subscribe buttons and the paywalls are doing what they're doing is because we're trying to figure out who is our collective and what are we going to collectively do. I think it's so much bigger than when we just turn on the camera and pick up a mic and just start talking. I think that's where it starts. It starts as content, maybe for some people, or expression. But I think it moves into a deeper realm. The longer we do it, the more we realize like everyone is not a part of the thing that we do, and everything we do doesn't serve everyone. It's not a selfish thing like we don't want to serve other people. Some people don't. I do. I like to serve. I love to serve, right? But it's often the reality that happens within the inner reality that says I can't make it for everybody and still let it be the essence that it is. I can't do it for everybody. If I try and stretch it and make it for everyone, then it stops being the thing that it is that I was really excited to do. So it is about speaking to the collective. It is about speaking to the people who get it, who naturally gravitate toward it, and who are really excited to see it exist in the world and are willing to contribute and do something about it existing. That's what this is all about. So we can talk about all the videos we want. We can talk about all the influencers and celebrities and artists and creatives and healers and entrepreneurs and figureheads and activists and politicians and, just break society into all of these different categories. But the question is, who's in your collective? What is your collective? And so naturally, one of the first things I want to guide you to think about is what is one of, because I know there's several, what is one of the things that if you could change the way that systems support or operate for you in your life that you would change today? And this is going to take a bit of reflection because you might actually feel that the system's work in your favor, but you might not like that they don't work for other people. So then naturally you want to, make that system a little more just or make that system a little better, better received, right? So that it has design for others. So first ask yourself that question. The second question you ask is, what can you contribute to? What do you have the capacity to contribute to? And I know sometimes we think we're tired, we don't have it. Oh, it's so much to do. I'm tired. I know a lot of people in that space. Like I've been in that space almost all year. It's like, oh, I'm just tired. Like I don't have the energy to do all of these things. But I'm going to ask you to look at what you've been doing differently. And I'm going to ask you to look at what you've been doing differently as a collector. I'm going to ask you to think of yourself as a collector. So as a collector, you have the ability to grab certain things and bring them closer to you and hold on to them, right? And as a collector, there might be things that you're really interested in over there and over here. Some might be really far away, but wherever they are, you have this interest in multiple things. And you're kind of going about life, kind of drawing the things in that mean the most to you and gathering them close to you. But at some point, one of the collections starts to stand out a little bit more than others, right? As a collector, you start to realize it's quite a bit more energy in one collection than the others. And that collection is kind of like your strong signal. It's like your strong, static free signal about what you are really about and what really matters a lot to you. And that is the collection that I want you to look at. If you look at that in terms of life, if there is a huge picture that's being painted, being created, what are you contributing to that picture? What are the parts that you're adding to that picture, right? And that's what I want you to really look at. What are those parts that you're adding to the picture? In addition to that, I want you to think about the what is the word I'm looking for? I want you to think about the ways in which each of those pictures that you're creating is part of a larger puzzle. right? So there's a larger puzzle that's about all of these things. And then there's the parts that you're contributing to it. And so if we are all collectors, gathering the things that are the most important and the most enchanting to each of us, then when we are creating and contributing to this larger puzzle, which is the larger picture, what is it that each of us are bringing to it? And then who are the people that have all the pieces to the puzzle? That's what I'm talking about. So collective works beyond collaboration. We can collaborate any day of the week around a project or, something short term. But when we start to think long term, what is that longer term aim or initiative? What are we looking to build way out there? And I just want you to think about that for a moment. And then maybe think about, in addition to your own contribution and what you have to bring to it, think about who the people are, whether you know them already, or maybe you need to think about who the people might be, the kind of people might be that are going to help you create this puzzle. Again, your collective is not for everyone, just the ones that are hungry for it, the ones that get it, the ones that want it really bad, the ones that are already kind of in it, already doing it, already have a head start. That's where you start. You don't start in a deficit. You don't start from scratch. You never start from scratch. And also, part of your collective and part of what you are compiling and putting together comes from this larger cosmic scale, which means that someone's already developed some part of it. You don't have to start from scratch. Somebody has already, whether they are here or transition, their works are still present. And the word that I've been using all year also along with this is akashic, right? So there's this recognition that there is more going on than anything you could contribute to, and you are just adding to it. You don't have to create it from scratch. Anything bigger than anything you can create, excuse me, anything you could create, right, from scratch. You don't have to create from scratch. It already exists. It already has wings, right? So what you're trying to do is land it. And as you're landing it with the richness that is your contribution. And then you are rounding out the richness and executing it with this collective that has all of the missing pieces to the puzzle. That's what we're doing. And if you think that this is like just an idea for a project, what if I told you this is your daily life? This is what you do every day that you show up. Every day that you show up, on some level, you're doing this. If you could just see your life this way, if you could just see your life as I'm not doing anything random. There are things I give more energy to and others that, I do because I feel I have a responsibility to do them. But there's nothing random happening in my life. And everything that's happening in my life is teaching me or showing me how to teach. It's giving me purpose and presence and power or showing me where that is absent, right? And so it is constantly shaping you and allowing you to have the vision for what that picture could be. And then that's where that sovereignty comes in, where you say, you know what, I think we can do it. I don't have to ask permission to do this. We're just going to start moving along in that direction and start building something that's substantial and worthwhile for all of us. And I think that's the most beautiful part of it is when you get to that place that you realize not only that that needs to happen, but that you are one of the people that can do it. And don't stress on trying to fix all things. Trying to fix all things is the most distracting thing in the world. There is a sweet spot that your experience in your life has been building for you that you have been doing over and over and over again. People talk about, tens of thousands of hours that contribute to this thing that you're really good at. And they talk about it like it's a career path. But I am talking deeper. I'm talking on what is your life path. Your life path involves your career. Hopefully, your career is aligned with your life path. But it's not always the case for everybody at every point in time. So I'm talking about your life path. I'm talking about what are you here to do? What are you here to contribute? And your contribution is going to come from a lot of the collective that you find yourself in or who you believe you belong to, those people as well. So I want you to use a little bit of astrology just in closing out this conversation. And the piece that helps me reflect on collective work is just a very small thing that I'll share here. Of course, it can get deep and it has layers and context and connectivity and all of that. But let's start with your 11th house, astrologically speaking, whether you are tropical or sidereal, but especially if you are looking at your sidereal chart, let's get real, real, real technical about what that 11th house constellation is. And especially if you have planets in the 11th house, well, then that's a whole other thing. But let's just talk about the 11th house constellation. What is the constellation on your 11th house in astrology? So, again, not career, not just what you are learning and what knowledge you have, but I am talking about your collective. I'm talking about a collective work, a responsibility to create something with other people. Who are your people and how might that collective function based on your birth chart? So if we're looking at 11th house, whatever that constellation is might tell us the way that we are looking at it, might also explain to us who those kind of people are when we see them. And it also might explain the path or the presence that the work has, right? So looking at your 11th house, which represents your groups, your social order and standing, all of those things, look at the 11th house and think about what that constellation represents to you. What are the first words? Maybe write this down and then maybe use this as a journaling assignment to kind of look at the types of people that are in your life and if those are the people that are part of that collective. Or maybe why. Maybe that constellation itself is the sign of the people in the sidereal is the sign of the people that you are meeting. Or maybe, it's your sign. So maybe it's your sun sign. Maybe, again, you have other planetary positions there. But just taking the context, just like a quick self-study on that. That's something that I do in my course, the course that's coming up January 11th to the East, and sidereal astrology course and self-study. Go to stacypatrice.com/to the east for more details. But looking at that 11th house and rounding out from that 11th house, who is my collective and how my collective move? So I'll give you an example. If your 11th house is in Taurus, for example, Taurus being, an earth element, being a practical, sturdy, steady type of constellation or characteristic. I am thinking about this in terms of how this work might come together. So you might want people who are able to be, somewhat loyal and stick through with you through all of the phases of whatever this thing is. You might also want this thing to be something that develops over time, not something that reveals itself immediately or happens quick or right away. You might also look at whatever this thing is that's happening as quality versus quantity. Again, everybody is not necessarily going to come with, but you might be looking at this as quality. This might be something that, really speaks toward taking the time to make it right so that it can last and sustain and be around for lots of people. And then people feel comfortable and connected inside of it. They feel like, oh, this really fulfills all of the things I've wanted to feel. FEEL, right? And so making sure that it does that. But either way, you're looking at this larger um, idea and definitely always using your natal chart as a source of inspiration, a source of reconnection, and then also the ability to be able to create and do things that are already aligned. So, again, what is it that you see as a system that just needs change or needs obsolescence and something else needs to be created for it? And what do you think that is? Then also, what are the things that you believe you would contribute to it? And then finally, who is your collective? What is that constellation on your 11th house that might start to point to who your collective is in creating something like this? And of course, this is just one layer of it. This is not anything long or drawn out. This is not anything that can be determined by just looking at the surface layer of it. But for the purpose of this, let's start there and share that in the comments. I'd love to hear what you guys found. I'd love to hear your ideas on collective works and not just collaborative works, not just individualized works, but how we can really start to move the things that we're creating into solving problems for us so that as we move forward, we have the things that support us and that we can rely upon, even if they need a little bit of tweaking and creating from ourselves so that it can sustain us. And that's what I would like to see from you all in the comments. And I can't wait to hear what you have to say and reply. And again, I'm Stacy Patrice. I look forward to talking to you soon. All right. Peace.